In the mountainous village of Engaraba, where the mist rolled down the slopes like an ancient spirit, and drums echoed across the valleys during full moons, every birth was a celebration. Except for one, the midwives still remembered the morning ZEMIRA was born. It was just after a red eclipse and omen, they whispered. Her mother had screamed in strange tongues. Her father had fled halfway through the delivery, never to return. And when the baby came out, there was no cry, none. The child didn't make a sound. Stillborn, one whispered, but the child opened her eyes calm, wide, as if aware of everything. She was alive, but they called her cursed. Her mother, Katrina, a widow of only 19, was shunned. Women stopped buying her spices at the market. Children were warned to stay away from the mute one. Elders would spit when they saw her pass. ZEMIRA grew up with silence in her lungs, but a storm in her soul. She never spoke, not until she was 7. And when she did, it wasn't a whisper, it was a song. It began with a cut. ZEMIRA had gone to the river to fetch water when she found Quaim, the blacksmith's son, lying by the bank, blood soaking through his tunic. A jagged cut stretched across his thigh from a farming accident. He was barely conscious. No one was nearby. ZEMIRA, small and frightened, placed her hand on the wound, and then she sang. The melody was soft, haunting. It echoed off the trees like wind through hollow bamboo. She didn't know what she was singing. The words were not hers. But the sound, pure and warm, filled the air. When she finished, the wound had closed. Not fully healed, but sealed like time had reversed. Quaim sat up in shock. What did you do? He asked. ZEMIRA said nothing and ran. That night, he told his father. By morning, the village was on fire, not literally, but with fear and gossip. She's a witch. No child should have that power. She carries a demon. Even Quaim, who had been saved, stayed away after that. Only Mama Okiri held her child tighter. You have a gift, ZEMIRA. But not every gift is welcomed. ZEMIRA stopped singing. For nearly 10 years, ZEMIRA kept her voice hidden. She became a ghost in her own home, quiet, unseen. She swept the ground before sunrise to avoid stares, gathered herbs for her mother's trade, and sat alone beneath the Engaraba tree where her only friends were wind and memory. But her heart ached to help people. She practiced her voice in secret, singing to animals, to injured birds, to sick trees, and always the same thing happened. Life returned. Not dramatically, not like magic, but gently, like the turning of a tide. She read the signs in nature. Her voice could accelerate healing, soothe pain, calm storms if used wisely. But if the village feared her, outsiders feared much worse. It began with whispers from the south. The tribe of Bokan, warlike and hungry for land, was advancing. One village, then 2, had fallen. They enslaved men, took children, and burned crops. The elders of Engaraba panicked. The hunters sharpened spears. The women hid their sons. The chiefs sent messengers for aid, none returned. Then one dawn, the drums beat 3 times. The Bokan had reached the valley below. Panic tore through Engaraba like wildfire. People packed belongings, buried their most sacred items, and prepared to flee to the cliffs. But the warriors stayed. We will fight, said the chief, Alrodi the Fierce. We do not bow. ZEMIRA watched quietly. She saw the fear in the soldiers' eyes. They were brave, but not many. Wounded from earlier battles, spirit broken. Her village, cruel as it had been, was still home. She couldn't watch it burn. Underscore, 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 underscore. Underscore, 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 underscore. On the eve of the attack, as torches line the outer walls and warriors sharpen their blades, ZEMIRA walked to the center of the village square. She climbed the ancient stone, where only chiefs and priests stood. Then for the first time in a decade she sang. The melody rose like smoke into the sky. High, clear, piercing, it wasn't a song of joy or sorrow. It was a song of strength, of defiance, of deep-rooted power. The warriors stopped and turned. The wounded felt warmth in their limbs. The tired felt fire return to their bones. One elder who couldn't walk stood up without his cane. ZEMIRA's voice was not just healing flesh, it was restoring will. Chief Alrodi stepped forward. "What are you?" She answered quietly, "I am your daughter, the one you cast aside." He stared for a long time. "Then sing for us again." At dawn, the Bokken came. They marched with drums and fire, their armor gleaming like beetles. Their general, a ruthless giant named Gundo, laughed at the village's wooden gates. But then he heard it, a sound rising like mist. ZEMIRA stood at the front of the warriors, her mother beside her, and she sang. The arrows fired by the enemy curved, just slightly, missing targets. The Bokken's horses bucked in panic. One soldier clutched his chest and fell not wounded, but weeping. The villagers fought like spirits possessed. Wounds that would have killed them closed within moments. Warriors who fell stood again. Even the air felt heavier on the enemy's side, thicker, slower, like fighting through water. In the end, the Bokken retreated confused, disoriented, defeated. Engaraba had survived. The village was in awe. People gathered outside ZEMIRA's home every day not to curse her, but to beg for healing, to ask forgiveness. They brought gifts, yams, beads, chickens, herbs. But ZEMIRA took nothing. "I did what I was born to do," she said. The chief called for a festival in her name. He offered her a seat on the council. She refused that too. "Let me live quietly. But if ever my people are in pain, I will sing," and she did. Over the years, her legend grew. People came from far lands to seek her song. She never charged, never asked for praise. She remained the girl who was once cursed, now a savior. Her mother lived to see the day when villagers bowed to her daughter, the same ones who once spat at their feet. ZEMIRA never married. Some say her gift was too heavy to share. Others say she loved the world too much to be tied down. Long after ZEMIRA passed, the villagers of Engaraba say her voice still echoes in the trees, especially when someone is in pain. And when a child is born during a storm, mothers tell them, "Fear nothing. Even the cursed can be chosen." They named the new healing center ZEMIRA's song. And every year on the day of the eclipse, the village gathers to sing her melody, one that healed wounds, ended war, and reminded the world that sometimes the rejected become the redeemer.